Hello, welcome back to Jack's Gay Chats. Today we want to talk about legal documents, wills, trusts, property, joint accounts, and things like that. That's of importance to everybody, but also to the gay and lesbian community. These documents are important whether you're a couple or whether you're single. I mean, if you're single and you have certain property that you want to go to certain people that you care about, it's important to mention it in writing in a will. In terms of being a couple, Doug and I have been together for over 30 years, and we've learned to keep a lot of our finances together. Did you want to explain about that?
Well, it didn't start out together, of course, and we had different amounts of finances. So it took a while before we were living together, before we moved in together. Yeah. And when we were just dating, of course, everything was separate. But once we moved into a house together and bills to pay together, we decided to set up a joint bank account.
Yeah, and in addition to that, for example, in our case, I have my own account, he has his own account, and then we have a joint account. However, on my account, Doug is listed as a joint partner on my account. And on his account, I'm listed as a joint partner or tenant. And so we're completely protected. If one of us passes away, the other person just inherits that money without any other legal maneuver whatsoever. It's also important that when you own property like a house, like we've owned 2 houses now.
2 now.
And we're both listed on the deed. Mm-hmm. And even in cases...
Joint tenants, right?
Joint tenants. Mm-hmm. And even in cases where one person might have more money than the other, still being both on there is important. Because sometimes your family may not be supportive of your gay or lesbian relationship, and you want to put it in writing to codify it and make it the law. So these are very important things to consider. Now, I can remember a couple other incidences where it wasn't a matter of property, but the time that you were involved in a car accident.
Right.
And you were taken to the hospital, and you called me.
Mm-hmm. And you had trouble getting in.
The hospital staff would not let me in because I wasn't his spouse.
We're not married.
I wasn't his spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have just said, yeah, he's my husband. And that would have been fine. They're never going to ask you for a marriage license. They just believe you. That's their policy.
And at that time, you weren't domestic partners either, so you couldn't even tell them that.
Right. So it's important to have those documents. And also, what is the one for the hospital?
Healthcare directive.
Yeah. That's in case one of us is incapacitated and according to doctors is going to die, that partner can make the final decisions. So,
but it's got to be listed. It's got to be somewhere in writing so they can allow that person to do it.
In our case, our health insurance requires those documents. So they're filed with our health insurance company, which happens to be Kaiser. But it makes life so much easier. And you don't have so much to worry about. Even things like your final request of where you want to be buried or where you want your ashes, put it in writing, because the family's going to step in and say, oh, I want my son this, or I want my daughter this.
Even if you don't think so, you never know. Things can change and families can change.
Yeah, like I've made it known to Doug, and also in writing, that I want my ashes in Yosemite, the place I love most. So, and I think you want to go there too.
Yeah, me too.
we'll be ready to go on that very long vacation in Yosemite. Such a wonderful place. So that's how we feel about documents. And I hope you, even though it's an awkward subject to approach,
especially wills
and dying requests, you really need it. You need to just be reasonable about it, rational about it, and put it in writing.
If you're not protected, a lawyer can get involved and he can take up to half of the estate or more or whatever.
Right, in probate.
And you have no control.
Or the family.
or the family.
So thank you for listening, and I hope we've given you some good advice on legal documents.